Once again, welcome back to the plot. Morning everybody. Right, welcome back to the plot. It's a little cold and damp this morning, so as I says on my Facebook page, the other night I'm going to start and make my way through the tunnels and doing a bit of cleaning up in the cabbages. Lots of comments on how to stop slugs and pests and diseases. Well, it's quite an easy thing. The main thing is just keeping your cabbages nice and clean, and I like to go through them every other day and just keep a check on the leaves on the bottom. If there's anything with slug damage, or quite an easy job just to tear them away. There's any holes in them and any starting to rot off, any debris around the plants, and the slugs will love it. They'll just plague your life forever if you just let them away with it. But I just take my time every other day, just go through them and give them all a good clean off. Give them a good spray. I like to use soapy water or a garlic spray, and that just deters the slugs. Not only spraying the plants, but spraying around the surrounding soil. Give that a good wash, and it just keeps the slugs away, and it keeps your plants nice and clean. These are the spring cabbage Spring Hero, the nice round ball type. Absolutely fantastic cabbage, and the way they're looking at the moment, it's not going to be too long before we're having a feast on them for Sunday. I've got two different kinds. I've got the Duncan in the far tunnel, and I've got the Spring Hero in here, the nice big round ones. Now these are massive cabbage. The reason why I like to put cabbages in my tunnels is cabbages are a great way of cleaning your soil, especially after your tomatoes, your main crop. We always like to follow the crop of cabbage, and what the cabbage will do is it'll actually clean your soil for you. It'll take all them excess nutrients, all them excess feeds that you've had in the soil, and it'll completely clean the soil for you, and then you've got a nice fertile clean free soil for to start your next plant. Fair enough, you've got to add a bit more manure or a bit more plant feed, such as blood, fish and bone, or bone meal, whatever you use. When you start your tomatoes off again the following year, a bit of lime. Check your pH, because I'm a great believer on that. Check your pH in your soil. You can get a meter easy enough in one of the shops, to make sure that you're in between the right levels of your different crops, and then you'll get a first class crop every year. Like you see, we always follow what tomatoes and our main crops with the cabbage, and the cabbage will clear your soil for you, and then you're starting off again with a nice sterile soil the following year. Once these come out, probably start taking these out about end of April, beginning of May, and they'll go right through May, and by then we can get them taken out, we can test our soil again, see what it's like. We'll probably follow off. I'm hoping to get some outdoor tomatoes in here. What's happened with the roof in here, this was supposed to be going to come down last year, but it was not feeling too grand. There's actually just a thin layer of mesh over the top, plastic mesh. There's no polythene on, and the rain's just coming straight through, but what it's doing is it's protecting the plants from the winds. As I say, we'll probably get some outdoor tomatoes in here. If we kind of take the greenhouse down this year, I'll fill it full of Ailsa Craig. I'll grow them in middle of April, set them away, nice late crop, and we'll plant them in here. And they'll grow away quite well. As I say, the sides are protecting it, but there's no roof cover. There's just that little bit of plastic mesh left, which is allowing the rain to fall through, and we should get a first class crop of outdoor tomatoes in here. With no land goes to waste. We can put outdoor cucumbers, we can put courgettes, anything like that in here. We'll fill it up, because it's a lovely bed. We've had this for years. I think we've had this bed for about 10 years now. But it'll not come in wrong, because when this greenhouse comes down, we'll shorten it by about half, and then we'll probably put a small cover or something over this far end here. All this end's going to come down, because it's been up nearly 20 years now, and it was built with pallet wood, with Can't complain, it owes with nothing. So when this comes down, we've still got 2 big tunnels, and we've still got 2 glass greenhouses over there. So that's another job we can crack on with. Anyway, that's the cabbage sorted. As I say, give them a good spraying, bit soapy water, garlic spray. Keep the soil nice and clean, make sure all the dead leaves and that's taken off. There's another one there. I like to go around them every other day and just check them. Just have a look around the bottom, just make sure there's nothing on them. Put away all the dead leaves, and of course you want to give them a feed. Well, all me and Roger use is this time of the year in the spring when they're looking for a bit of feed, either sulphate of ammonia or a bit of nitro choke. And nitro choke you can get easy enough from the allotment societies, or sometimes you can see it in the shops. Not often, but you get the you'll get the sulphates in them, the iron in them, and it gives them that really good boost that they're looking for in the spring. It is starting to warm up a little bit inside here, not too much. So as I say, the planting's still on hold. We're still putting little bits and pieces in. I'm going to go into the bottom tunnel now, because what I want to do, I mentioned I'm going to start my fruits off this week. I want to start feeding them, and the first thing I want to do is check over my strawberries, because what I'm going to do this year is to take some strawberries down home. I've got 3 big troughs down home at the back of me, and I want to put permanent strawberries into them. But I'm going to choose some this morning, and I'll have a look through them, see what I like, and then we'll decide from there. Okay? Okay, right, completely different here. We're in the we're in the lower polytunnel, and of course I've been checking some of the plants through. I've got some more of the seed that was sowed last year, echinacea. That's the big red daisy, and they're from just sown from seed in September, and then pot it off, and they're first class little plant. They'll go spring this year. We'll have to harden them up first on the back benches, and then it'll be a first class plant for planting out in April and May. Now the strawberries I've got out here, I'll take these down for the top here. I've had these sitting in here for all of the winter. Full tray of them there. And I've got some cuttings of Mike and Lynn from over the backyard, from Mickey and Lynn. What they've got a strawberry bed outside, and they just netted over the top. Big enclosure with a net over the top, and they get first class strawberries off it every year. So Mick asked us last year if I wanted a few cuttings. Although I've got plenty of strawberries myself, these are a completely different variety. And what I was wanting to do is to get a variety that grows well. I'll just show you this in a minute. I want a variety that grows well outside. So I've gotten these. We got the cuttings last year, and what I've done, I've just let them sit out in the greenhouse in the polytunnel here. There's no, on this bottom door here, there's no polythene, just open mesh. So we'll get the fresh air blown right through. It's freezing in here. It's no heating whatsoever. And there's a first class strawberry plant off last year, for cutting off last year. Now the roots, looking at the bottom there, the roots are just starting to come through there, through the bottom. But that's an absolute corker of a plant. Lovely dark green. It's got nice new shoots on it. And inside the plant itself, you can see them, all the new leaves starting to unfold. No diseases, no bugs on it, anything. And what I did last week, I gave this a spray of, give them all a spray of soapy water, and any green fly, any white fly on them, that'll just knock them off. And that's all we like to use. We don't use any chemicals or anything. Now, while I'm on the subject, the seed zone I was on last week, and especially watering your plants with water from out the butts. Now we water these. We don't use fresh water on them. We've got butts in here, water pots in the greenhouse, and we just water these with that. And there's a first class example. The green moss that sits on the top of your pots. Now that's what you'll get on your seed trays if you water with that water. That's why I always say, if you're watering your seedlings, always use a first class, nice clean water from your tap. If you're on the allotment and you're bringing water into the gardens, make sure you bring it from home and it's nice and fresh out your tap. And that way your seedlings have got a first class start. Mark Shaw commented last week when I was about their seed zone. Now he gets on pretty well with these vegetables, but he struggles a little bit with flowers. Well, flowers to me they're so easy to grow if you follow 2 or 3 basic steps, and I'll go through that when we get down home, because I've still got some sowing to do. I've still got the daisies to sow, and I've got cornflowers to sow. I've got there's umpteen different varieties. Probably I'll be sowing a lot of seed next week, and I'll do a little part in the video of how I prepare my seed trays. I do it with everything, with all my veg. I follow the exact same rules. Nice clean compost, nice level compost, not too deep. And there's tricks you can do that is by just leaving your tray short a quarter of an inch on your compost. On every tray, doesn't matter how deep it is or how big it is, different size pots, I do exactly the same thing, quarter of an inch on the top. And that way, when you put your seed on, pre-water, give them a good soaking first, and then once it's drained off, sow your seed, and then that way, when you come to put your topping on, whatever you use, I use perlite and a lot of stuff, perlite mixed with peat, perlite mixed with sand and peat, different ones. When you come to put your topping on, you don't overfill your pots, and you don't cover your seeds with too much compost. You just give them a nice fine covering, and that way your seeds will not struggle to come through. And of course, there again, heat is another thing. I don't use much heat. Down home, I have a few seedlings on the heat bed, like the tomatoes, they're on the heat bed. My lobelia, my dahlias are down there, they're on the heat bed. But when I'm sowing like some marigolds and stuff like that, I've got the asters coming through in there. I've got dahlia seed coming through in there, and they're just in the cold in the melon house, no heat, but they're coming through there, and all they have is a little plastic cover over the top of them, just keeping them frost free. But I'll show you a few tricks that I do with my seedlings, marked, and probably in the next video, or when we get down home. I might finish this video up by doing, I've got some potting off to do. I've got Otospermum, the Cape daisies to pot up, and I'll show you how just to get away with, how to get out your legginess. A lot of people posting online how leggy their plants are going, but I explained last week in the video, you need full light. You need your plants right up to the light. If you're going to struggle for light, and then they're going to stretch, and they're going to stretch, and they're going to stretch, because plants, by their nature, they need the photosynthesis, and that's the light to turn it into energy to grow. It's a basic requirement of any plant is full light, and if they haven't got that, then they're going to stretch. And if they do stretch, and then I've got a few little tips how we can get out, sink them lower down your compost when you put them up, and hopefully when you put them back up in the light, they'll grow away nice and strong, and they'll be short and green. But getting back to our strawberries, as I say, we've got some first class plants here. I've got about 12.5 here. What I'll do, I've got 3 big trays. I'll show you in next week's video. I've got 3 long troughs in the garden down home at the back of me. And what I'm planning on doing is putting these strawberries in, but they're going to stop in there. So I want to prepare it first. I want to make sure the soil's okay. Make sure my compost and my soil's okay. Bearing in mind that strawberries like a bit of acidy on the acid side. So I'm going to check the pH on them, make sure it's not too high. If it is too low, and then I can always bulk it up with a little bit of lime, sweeten it up again, and bring a pH up. But we'll check all that next week. We'll get the strawberries ready. I'm hoping we're not going to get that bad weather. If we do get the bad weather, I'll take these out of the polytunnel. I'll put them on the back bench here, so they're getting plenty of fresh air, and they're getting plenty of light, and they're getting the cold weather is hitting. Well, not so much hitting on them, but they're getting introduced to the outside cold weather, and hopefully we might be able to get them planted back end of March, beginning of April, if the weather brightens up. We're focused to have some snow in the Easter, so I'm just holding on. I'm like everybody else. I'm not being too much of a hurry to get planted out. But that's the plan for them strawberries. As I say, I've got 3-4 troughs down there, so if I take a dozen plants down with us, and I've got half a dozen left. And what I'll do next week, we'll tip the half a dozen out, and we'll pot them up with a nice, decent sized pot, and they'll sit in that pot for the next year. What I'll do is I'll put them on the bench, and I'll use I'll take the runners off them when they start throwing runners off, hopefully this year. I'll take a lot of runners off them. I'll take about a dozen, 2 dozen cuttings off them, and then we'll make ourselves a nice strawberry bed outside for next year. That's a plan for these. We'll see how they go first, see how they crop, and if they're to our liking, then we'll take runners off, we'll take cuttings, and we'll have a full strawberry bed outside for next year. But that's a plan for them. The rest of my fruit, I'll be starting on. I was hoping to start this week, but it's so wet outside. It's a waste of time. I've got the raspberries out there, and I've got all the fruit trees to do. Now we've got grease bands and all them. They've been sprayed. They had a good spraying in December with the J's fluid and soapy water into all the crevices and the cracks, nice and clean. I put grease bands on them. They've all had them on. And what I want to do now, I want to go around with a couple of bags of horse manure, especially the raspberries. Give them a good sprinkling of horse manure. Take all the weeds out, nice and clean, and then I give all my fruit a good handful of sulphate of potash, and that's a first spring boost. Normally I put it in February, but it's been that wet over the last few weeks and cold, I haven't bothered. But March is fine. If the weather stays like this, by next week, if we've got a couple of dry days, we'll get out and I'll start next week's video off outside on the fruit trees. We'll do all the apples, we'll do the apples, the pears, plums, the peach tree up the top there. That'll benefit from a good sprinkling of horse manure and a good sprinkling of sulphate of potash. Plus all the strawberries that's in pots, they'll get a teaspoonful. We'll take them down from the benches, give them a good weeding out, good clean out, a good spraying. As I say once again, a bit soapy water or a bit garlic in. Give them a good spraying with that. Any white fly that's starting to come on, because once you get a couple of warm days, the white fly just appear from nowhere. But if you keep on top of them with a bit of soapy water, it'll keep them nice and clean. So we'll get all the strawberries done. We'll put a good soaking of sulphate of potash on them, and that's a first spring boost. And hopefully you'll get a first class plant. No other feed from that. There's plenty of feed in the pots because there's no fruit on yet. So we don't start feeding them until the fruit's on. And by then all they'll get is an organic feed. Manure in the tanks, manure water in the tanks, and that's it. Or make it a handful of bloodfish and bone around them, and that's all the feed they'll get for the rest of the summer. Hopefully we'll get a nice crop of strawberries off them. We'll do all that next week in next week's vid. What I'm going to do today, you can see I'm going to finish off with a bit of seed sown. Whether or not I do it up in the top greenhouse, I've got Miss and Brian thing just little to sow. So I might do it up there, or I might go back down home because the way the sky's looking, it's looking a bit black there. And I might finish off with a potting off of them and do a little bit of seed sowing down there where it's a little bit more comfortable. But for the time being, we'll crack on and we'll see you at the end of the video, okay? Okay, right. Decided to stop here because, as you can see, the sun decided to come out. It's quite nice. I'm up in the top greenhouse. Last greenhouse we've got multiple sowings in here. Just want to show you a few little bits and pieces before I crack on the seed. Well, that's how your plant should be. That's calabrese, summer cropping, first class. Now they're just at the right stage now. I like to pot off that. Not too small, not too big. Now we managed to pot off the sprouts, if you remember last week. And I've got a tray full up here, and there's no heat on in this greenhouse whatsoever. It's just this roof vent, the automatic roof vent, just starting to open up there. It just shows you the power of the sunshine. You get 5 minutes of sun, and your temperature's going to rocket. 10 degrees easy in a half an hour. And of course, this is set at 55, 60. It's just starting to open up there, so it shows you the temperatures are well up. And there's my first tray there. I managed to get a full tray and into the cardboard cups I'm trying out this year. I've got a few comments that these mightn't rot down with the lining around the sides. They're heat resistant, but I've given them a good soaking in water, and the bottoms they seem to be softening up a bit. If they don't, I can always knock them out and just plant them as I normally do. But I thought cups are so wasteful. They just go straight into the landfill. Not many of them get recycled now, so I thought, well, we'll start using a few of them and we'll try them out. And if the roots don't go through them, and then we can just tip them out as normal, and they'll go in my compost bin, hopefully. But that's for sprouts anyway. They're in, and they'll be first class little plants ready to plant out at the end of April and the beginning of May. And all I do with them, I put a little plastic cover over them of an evening. Roger can take it off through the day. As I say, we've got calabrese here, we've got jade, a Savoy cabbage, and then we've got the red cabbage. I haven't grown this for a few years. This is calibus, and they're actually spot on. I'll probably give them another week. As you can see by, this is my own compost, so you will get a few weeds growing through, and a few odds and sods, bits of grass and that, so I just like to go through them and just pick them out. You're sharp getting all your weeds from your seeds, but they're first class. These are a little pointed, nice and sweet red cabbage, so I'll probably pick them off for Sunday afternoon. I've got the greyhound cabbage coming through, that's for summer cabbage, so they won't do. That's another tray full of sprouts up on the top there. So we've got plenty going at the moment. Right, seed zone. For flowers, for Mark Shaw, he commented on how sometimes he doesn't get very good germination on his flowers. Well, the first thing you've got to have your whatever you've got outside, your greenhouse or your shed or your windowsill, whatever your environment, you've got to go with that. You've got to work with what you've got. In here we've got a glass greenhouse, so it's going to stay pretty steady at temperatures until the sun gets on it. And what we like to grow in here, is you say, we like to start with cabbages and sprouts off in the cold, no heat whatsoever, and they're growing quite well in here. And it's the same with the majority of seed. Like I said, marigolds. I'm going to be sowing Livingston, Miss and Brian Simon, the Livingston Daisy. I'm going to be sowing them today. No heat whatsoever. It's right time, March, mid-March. I like to start sowing my flower seeds, and I sow them all exactly the same way, apart from lobelia, petunia, and they're finicky. They really are finicky. So what I like to do with them, I like to sow them in a completely peat-free compost. Just an ordinary compost that I use down here. It's a clover compost, professional, and I add a bit of perlite or a bit of sand to that, and that's the only difference. When I'm sowing any other seed, I like to sow my own compost, which is a 3-2-1 mix. 3 of my own homemade compost out the bin, 2 of multi-purpose compost, and 1 of really good sharp sand, and that's what there is here. That's in there ready. Now what I like to do with my trays, I like to just leave them 3/4 of an inch to half an inch below your rim. Now this generally doesn't bother me because I water everything from down below. These trays here, I'll sit on the tray and I'll water the main tray, which waters from down below. But if you're not watering from down below, if you're watering up a height, make sure your compost is well soaked first, and you'll not have to water it any time after that until the seeds start coming through. So that's been well soaked. This is my own compost, 3-2-1. It's been well soaked. And with these, what I like to do is just get a little bit of cane, a little bit of bamboo, the length of your tray. One down the centre first. There we are. One down the centre first and one down the other side of that, so it gives you 3 rows, and then it's easy from there. Just make sure your hands are dry, especially for these little things. If you struggle with your eyes like I do, 9 times out of 10, when you take the packets open, you've got an inner packet. What you can do is tip them out with this little packet, which is your little protection. Now these seeds are pretty good. Some of them are fairly light, the white, so you can see them easy when you're dropping them into the tray. Don't overfill your rows. I like to use 1 packet per tray. If you look on the back of your packets, and it'll give you a good idea. Normally these are somewhere on the bottom. It'll tell you the seed count. And average on this one is 900 seeds. So we're doing 3 rows, which is going equivalent to 300 per row. But that's fine, because with Livingston Daisy, same with Lobelia, I sow them in rows because when I come to start pricking off, I can prick off into little bunches. It's the same with most of my flowers. Very rarely I prick them off singly, apart from like the dahlias and stuff like that, bigger plants. They'll get a pot all of their own. But with these, I prick them off in nice little bunches, and you get a much better display. Once I pot it up, you get a 9cm pot with a half a dozen of Livingston daisies in, and they look absolutely beautiful when you plant them out, and you get a first class display. But that's the way I sow them every year. Now with these seeds being a little bit light, just tap the packet, or if you're not happy with that, just put them in your hand and sprinkle them along. There we are. And just take my time, just dividing them between each row. Bearing in mind that I only press that cane in 1/4 inch. There we have it, that's the packet sown. And we should be able to see them. There's 3 rows there, and that's the mess and brine from them. Now you can use a fine sieve. I've normally got it in here, but I must have taken it down the bottom of the greenhouse. And what I like to do, just a handful of potting mix. You can use perlite and just a really light covering over the top of that row, not too deep. And there we have it. That's the easiest way. Now a lot of seeds are broadcast, so I'll not bother putting if I don't put the rows in with the canes, I just make sure my soil, my compost in the tray, and all you have to do is once you put it in, get another tray, sit on the top and press it down, and make sure your whole tray is nice and level. Pre-soak your trays first, good soaking with water, and once again fresh water out the tap. If you're on the allotment, if you're sowing on the plot, make sure you've got nice fresh water from your tap. Do not use water out your butts when you're sowing seed, because honest to God, within a couple of days you'll see the difference. If you've got any heat on, and you'll see the algae, the lichens and everything growing on top of your soil, on top of your compost, and that's what you do want. You want nice fresh water. I know it's a bit of a bind at times. Down home, I'm up and downstairs all the time getting buckets of water from the kitchen to take down the greenhouse, but it saves all the hassle later on of keeping your soil nice and clean. Now we have it, and that's the easiest way, Mark, I like to sow my seeds. All my flower seeds, the majority of them get sown the same way. You can see, apart from the lobelia, petunias, and I've done exactly the same with the Livingston daisy. I sow them in rows, 3 rows to a tray. Quite easy. Don't cover them too deeply. Just have a nice light covering. Pre-soak your soil first, because a lot of people tend to sow their seed and come across with a watering can on top, and they shift all that peat and shift all the seeds to one end of the tray, and that's not good for them for the start. So there we have it. They're first class. They're away, and all them need now is sit up on the bench here, the clear top. There we are, and we'll keep an eye on them over the next couple of weeks. Once they start growing through, probably about the middle of April, give them that 2-3 weeks when they start coming through. About the middle of April, we'll prick them off in a multi trays. Sometimes we use these. I've got the little plastic ones, or I use these, the 6s. I put a lot of my bedding in them. They'll be pricked off into them, little bunches into each cell, and then by the end of May into June, you've got first class plants ready to go out in your garden. And they're so cheap to grow. And say for a packet of seed, and them for Wilco, 75p, and you've got 900 seeds in there. Well, out of them 3 rows, you'll probably get you'll probably fill about 10 of them. So if you've got friends and you've got family and you've got neighbours that you want to surprise, that's the best way to do it. Get your seed, look after them properly, As I say, 3 easy steps. Just make sure you get your surroundings first. Frost free, well watered, and don't forget your light. Get them up on the top. Don't have them down in the bottom, hiding away in the corners. Ceilings, get them up on the top there where there's plenty of light. You can see where these cabbages and sprouts, they're romping away. If you do tend to get them a little bit leggy, and then we can adjust that when you pot them off. We'll probably do that in next week's video, because getting on a bit now, so we'll finish this video off today. But when I start with the strawberries next week, we're down home. We'll probably do a little bit potting off down here. I'll get them Cape Daisies potted up. It might be a tad on the leggy side, but no doubt, because they were on the heat bed for longer than I had anticipated. Now that they're off, I put them on a cool bench. They've cooled down a bit, and they've stood up, they're nice and straight. But what I like to do is I like to sink them a little bit deeper down to their seedling leaves, and then they'll grow away really strong. Nice little plants, ready for planting up in the early summer. I've got another tray there to sow, so I want to crack on, get these done, and then go down home and see the greenhouse down there. But as I say, another video. I've hoped to help you out with a few things. You can see with the cabbages not. A lot of people asking about slugs and snails. Just cleanliness, down to cleanliness. If you've got a couple of spare cloves of garlic, crush them up, put them in a pan of boiling water, just a litre of water, boil them down for a half, till you've got half a litre of juice left, strain it off, and you spray, add a couple of drops of washing up liquid, let it cool down, and then spray your plants with that. Fantastic. It stinks a hell of garlic, but the slugs don't like it, worms don't like it, and the whitefly don't like it. But the soapy water, it's the garlic is just a preventive, but adding a little bit of soapy water, especially with the whitefly, what it does, it gets into their gills, clogs them, and it chokes them. But it's a nice, organic, easy way of keeping their plants clean. Don't forget the surrounding cabbages. Take any leaves that's been hauled by flea beetle, anything like it, take them off, because the slugs love them. They'll just munch away at them. Take any leaves off that's been damaged. Keep your plants nice and clean, weed free. Just give them a hoeing up, and then don't forget your nitro choke. Either nitro choke or sulphate of nitrate, sulphate of ammonia. A little bit of that around them, and that'll give them a spring boost, and they'll romp away. But next week, hopefully, we'll crack on with our fruit trees. I'm just looking over there. A few of my raspberry canes have broke away from the tie-ins I put in last year. But I'll get them straightened up next week when we start mucking the beds, and we'll find some sulphate of potash to start feeding all our strawberries. We'll probably kick off a new video down home next week, and I'll sort them troughs out for the strawberries that I intend planting outside for this year. And as I say, we'll just check the soil and that, make sure everything's okay. See what the pH is like on it, and if it's fine, we'll plant them out probably beginning of April, depending on the weather. As I say, we're focused for more cold weather, so we'll keep an eye on it. Everything's ticking along just nice, no hurry. Tomatoes are all through, so maybe in next week's video we'll crack on, we'll start down home, and I'll show you how everything's grown. Okay? If you want to catch her through the week, and by all means get one of our Facebook pages, Jeff Foreman on the Plot. See one on my Facebook. Well, I'm on most nights, and if you need any help, if I can't help you, there's plenty of lads on the site that will. So as I say, up till now, it's ta-ra for now, and we'll catch you next week. Okay, bye for now.